This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're taking your calls and questions all about DUI law, driving under the influence. And that can be under the influence of an illegal substance or even your prescription medication if it's affecting how you drive. Calling your questions tonight, the 31 Law Call number 256-536-0077. We've got two guests with us tonight who deal with this every day, and so we're going to see the ins and outs, including roadside testing. You know not to drink and drive, you know not to do that, but there are reasons, particular reasons, of how it would affect your life as well as the rest of our lives if you do that. Will League is here from Timberlake and League, and you can introduce our guest tonight because you've got some special video tonight.
We do, you know, so we have had a funny field sobriety test. I thought I was doing well until I put the goggles on. We'll get to that in a minute. But on the civil side, so we deal with car wrecks, boat wrecks, alcohol, illegal substances involved on the civil side. But if you're arrested, pulled over, arrested on the criminal side, what happens next? We were very lucky tonight to have Miss Boca Cole from the City Prosecutor's Office of Huntsville. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you for having me.
And Sergeant Shorter, who is head of the DUI task force here in Huntsville. And so first off, thank you guys for coming up on Sunday nights.
Absolutely.
All right. So, you know, one thing we want to talk about is, you know, what does it take to get arrested and convicted of DUI? There's a difference between a charge and a conviction, and you guys work together. So if you're not familiar with how it goes, Sergeant Shorter or someone on his team makes the arrest, presents his case to someone like Miss Boca Cole. They make the determination together whether or not they can, you know, obtain a conviction. If it's a first offense, maybe there's a diversion program. There's all types of things before it comes out. A lot of people out there have security clearance in northern Alabama, and what effect does that have? So give us a shout if you have any questions for these experts, 536-0077. But so, Sergeant Shorter, so how do you guys, there has to be synergy between your task force and and the City Prosecutor's Office. What does the typical case look like, and how do you guys work together on that?
So what we normally do is, again, we charge, right? We use our charging instrument, 325A191, and we have subsections to that. And we try our best to write as much detail as possible, give them as much as we can possibly get them to work with so that we can have sufficient evidence to secure the conviction.
Whitney,
and then it comes to you guys, right?
Whitney,
Yes.
You've been prosecuting now for the City of Huntsville for several years.
Yes.
And the numbers are amazing. It's a large portion of what you're doing is DUI cases.
Absolutely. They are astounding. Over half, a majority of the cases that we prosecute that come through municipal court in the City of Huntsville are DUI cases. So yes, we do handle a great deal of those.
So why would you be talking to us about DUI? What if we learn something from this? What are you hoping that folks will learn from seeing this here today?
So just to be honest with you, my vision for the City of Huntsville and just for the citizens is that we don't fear the arrest. All right, we fear taking the lives of hurting the people of our community. Yeah. So we don't go out here looking for people to just take to jail. Right, we use a systematic approach, and in that systematic approach, we determine if that person is impaired or not. And we use standardized field sobriety tests as we performed in this very studio.
You know, earlier on in my career, we defended DUIs and did some of that. And was on the criminal injury defense list, and we would handle some of those cases, and we would look for an improper stop. So you have to have a reasonable, under the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizures, that you have to have a reasonable suspicion that you can articulate, and then to make the arrest, Sergeant Shorter will have to have probable cause. So when it comes to you, I'm always looking at, was the stop proper? Mm-hmm. Was there an issue with the test going on? What are some of the main things that you see that you need from Sergeant Shorter and his staff?
Sure, and absolutely, like you said, being able to articulate the reasonable suspicion and the probable cause for the arrest are initially the first things as a prosecutor that we look at. The more detail that you have in your report is certainly helpful when we're taking those cases to trial and determining whether it's something suitable for us to move forward with and prosecute. Fortunately, in the time that I've been there, I've been with the City of Huntsville now for almost 6 years. The majority of the cases that I have seen made have been good. There has not been any question, at least in my mind, as far as the reasonable suspicion or probable cause for those.
So Will did some testing, and we want to show the video of Will taking the testing. So you may have seen on TV a roadside test, or maybe you've been through it yourself, but we wanted to show you what exactly Sergeant Shorter and the officers out there are looking for with some of these. And I think that one of the first we're going to start with, he gives you an eye test, right? Let's take a look at Will's test earlier.
All right, thank you for coming up. I guess now is the time where we're going to see if I can safely operate a motor vehicle.
Absolutely, let's do it.
First test you mentioned was the nystagmus horizontal gaze test.
Okay.
I guess I'm ready. I don't
All
know.
right. So here's what we do. You want to put your heels and toes together,
Okay.
like this, hands down by your side. And all you're going to do is you're going to stare at this stimulus right here. You're going to stare at my finger with your eyes and your eyes only. Try not to move your head, okay? So here, that's a medical clearance. That's what we do, medical clearance. And then secondly, we'll look for lack of smooth pursuit. And then we go maximum deviation. Here, I'm looking to see if your nystagmus is distinct and sustained. It has to be both. If it's just one, we're not going to count that as a clue. Okay. And then finally, you do the onset nystagmus prior to 45 degrees. Here, we go really slow. And I'm going slow because I need to verify that I saw nystagmus prior to that 45-degree angle.
Okay. So, Sergeant Shorter, you mentioned the balance heel-toe test. How do I do that?
So technically, it's called the walk and turn. Here they provided a line for us. I'll show you exactly what it looks like.
All right. Okay.
All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to start with your left foot on the line.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're going to put your right foot in front of your left foot, heel to toe, just like that.
Okay.
And you're going to put your hands down by your side. You're going to stay there until I tell you to move.
Okay.
We're tracking? All right. Now, here's what the test is going to look like. From here, you're going to take 9 heel to toe steps. They're going to look like this. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 9. Once you get to 9, you're going to leave your front foot planted. With the other one, take a series of small steps and get turned around. And then go back 9 heel to toe steps, beginning with 1, 2, 3, all the way to 9. Okay. So during the test, make sure you look down at your feet the entire time. Count each step out loud so I can hear you.
Okay.
Keep your hands down by your side and don't start walking until the test is done.
Okay. All right.
You
Here
ready?
we go. Yes, officer. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
That was perfect.
Hey, did you hear that, Sharon? That was perfect. I love it. All right, so are you looking for, people to raise their arms? Because I noticed you told me in the instructions not to raise my arm. Is that a clue?
It is a clue. It's a standardized clue. As a matter of fact, there are actually 8 clues in the walk and turn. So you have 8 opportunities to either get it wrong or get it right.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I guess I hadn't been drinking tonight. We'll find out later. Thank you. Okay. Now the next test, what's the balance test or
Yes.
the raise the leg you mentioned?
It's called the one-leg stand test, okay? And here, I'll show you how to do it.
Okay.
All right, so here we're gonna start off with our heels and toes together,
Okay.
hands down by our sides. All right, this is your starting position, okay? During this test, what I want you to do is raise one foot of your choice. It doesn't matter. You can do the left, you can do the right. I prefer my right leg.
Okay.
So I'll raise it 6 inches off the ground with my foot parallel to the ground. And here I'm gonna count out loud, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, in that manner until I tell you to stop.
Okay.
Super simple, right?
Okay.
Okay, you got any questions so far?
Okay. I don't think I do, but I'm sure if I failed, I would wish I'd asked. Okay. All right.
So during the test, make sure you look down at the elevated foot the entire time.
Okay.
Count out loud so I can hear you.
Okay.
Keep your hands down by your side and
Okay.
keep both legs straight the entire time.
Both legs straight. Okay. All right. Here we
You
go.
ready?
I think
And
so.
We're going to start the timer. It is time for 30 seconds.
1,000, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005, 1,006, 1,007, 1,008, 1,009, 1,010, 1,011, 1,012, 1,013, 1,014, 1,015, 1,016, 1,017, 1,018, 1,019, 1,020,
And stop.
Whoa, that was more difficult than I thought it was.
Full 30 seconds, you didn't put your foot down one time.
So on a traffic stop, if we're out, there's traffic going, there's lights, you find a clear spot, a lighted spot, I think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We usually look for flat surface. I prefer a surface like a parking lot with lines in it. Again, gives you the greatest opportunity to perform the test as efficiently as possible.
Okay. Sergeant Shorter, you brought some goggles or something to simulate impairment, is that right?
Yes, sir, I did. So these are called fatal vision goggles, okay? And these particular ones are slotted to simulate 0.17 to 0.20 BAC.
So Sergeant Shorter, I'll put the goggles on and we'll try the last two tests again and we'll see how we do, okay?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay, so Sergeant Shorter, I've got the goggles on. I feel a lot different. Everybody looks different. So I'm going to try the heel-toe test. Same instructions as last time?
Yes, sir. We're going to do the walk and turn test. Same instructions as last time. Start with your left foot on the line. Put your right foot in front of left foot, heel to toe. All right, same instructions. We can begin.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I think you may need to take me to jail. I'm going to try. Okay, so let's act like I turned around. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that was the heel-toe test. I think I had some clues that would maybe clue you off that something's wrong.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So that was a mess. Okay, so the standing balance test.
Yes, it's called the one-leg stand. Once again, same instructions, heels and toes together, hands down by your side. All right, and I want you to raise that foot just like you did last time.
Okay. All right.
You ready?
Okay, here we go.
And go.
1001, 1002, 1003. I didn't even get to, okay, one more time. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. Okay. I think Sergeant Shorter, I'm not looking too good with these goggles.
Point proven.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for coming up. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And on behalf of the community and everybody here at LawCall, thank you so much for what you do, keeping the citizens safe.
It's my pleasure to
And
do it.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right.
Wasn't that interesting?
Wow. You know, I felt pretty good, and then all of a sudden those goggles went on, things changed. You know, Sergeant Shorter, what does that simulate? So I put the goggles on. How drunk was I with the goggles?
That's funny. So those particular goggles are simulating a 0.17 to a 0.20 blood alcohol concentration. What that would mean is about 20% of your blood in your body is now influencing your decision-making process,
Wow.
your vision, your reaction time. All those things are compounded together, which notice when you were walking initially without them, you were completely fine. You put them on, it simulated an extremely high BAC.
And operating a motor vehicle with those goggles on, or 1.17, there's no way I could go anywhere. Or, you know, but safely, I'm putting everybody, on the road at risk.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And
so
yourself.
we talked about the totality of the circumstances, the nystagmus test, the standing leg raise test, the heel-toe test. So you'll take those, look at all those, determine at that point whether or not there's probable cause to do what?
To make the arrest, okay? So a lot of people assume that it's pass or fail, right? It's not pass or fail. It's we perform standardized field sobriety tests to determine if you're able to operate the vehicle safely. At the end of the day, there are standardized clues that we use, and with those standardized clues, we have 8 for the walk and turn, and 4 for the one-leg stand. We also have 6 for the HGN, or the horizontal gaze nystagmus test. We get a certain number, and once we get that certain number, it says, hey, this person's most likely above a 0.08.
Okay. So
Whitney, can all of those tests come in, though?
Yes.
All
they
of those can come into evidence?
Yes, assuming that they are, admitted properly, and so on and so forth. But absolutely, and as Sergeant Shorter indicated, they are not pass-fail tests. We've had situations where all the tests were not administered. So for instance, if it were just the horizontal gaze nystagmus or the HGN test, that alone coupled with what the officer is observing on scene, the odor of alcohol or marijuana, how the person is behaving, on scene, how they're, responding to certain questions, their response time. Those things, the standard is the totality of the circumstances, and based on just that alone, he could have enough probable cause to make that arrest.
And so then when it gets to you guys, so he takes me to jail, maybe I make bond, this, that, and the other, my lawyer comes and talks to you guys. By that time, you reviewed his report, the video, how I did on all those tests, and then again, look at how many points. So when you go to city court, I'm sorry, the sergeant will come and testify to the judge. And then is there an appeal process? Do you go to a jury and it's to beyond a reasonable doubt? Is that correct? Because in civil cases, to your reasonable satisfaction, but in criminal is a higher standard.
Yes,
Tell us about that.
That is correct. You're absolutely correct. So once it comes to our court, of course, after arraignment, if they're pleading not guilty and it goes forward with trial, even if they are convicted at city court, they have the constitutional right to appeal it to a higher court and demand a jury trial. We do follow all of our appeals to circuit court. Depending on the judge, that they're assigned to, will determine the prosecutor that will handle those cases. And as you indicated, both in city court as well as in circuit court, that standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. That still attaches to all of our criminal cases. But yes, that's typically how that process works.
And the city's growing. Huntsville is, we voted last year one of the best places to live. I think #1.
Yes.
We're growing. Which is a wonderful thing. But are we seeing more and more issues on our roadways now that we're getting more and more crowded?
So, unfortunately, yes. I would say that our biggest issue is that because we have so many people coming into the city, we don't have enough officers to patrol that many people. So we're doing our best with recruitment as well to get more people out. And being an instructor, I have the responsibility of teaching our officers how to perform standardized field sobriety tests or administer so that we can obviously make good cases. So I tell them all the time, hey, we don't make cases. We don't just take people to jail. We make good cases so that our prosecutors can do their very best at what they do.
They're telling us to take a break. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I know you've got questions. Call in the 31 Law Call number 536-0077. Be right back.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call, where lawyers come to help. Your rights, your calls, live. Hosted by family law attorney Sharon Dovia. With the personal injury attorneys of one of the Valley's most respected law firms, Timberlake and League. Featuring the knowledge of managing partner Michael Timberlake, with millions of dollars awarded to his clients. And the experience of attorney Will League, a strong courtroom fighter known for his commitment to winning. And the fellow partners of Timberlake and League Heath Brooks and William Meservey. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back to 31 Law Call. We've got with us Will League from Timberlake and League. They're personal injury attorneys. We've got Whitney Aboko Cole, who is a prosecutor for the city of Huntsville for several years now, since 2018. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And we've also got Sergeant Antonio Shorter, who is with the DUI task force here in Huntsville. I was asking which of those tests is admissible, because it used to be that the horizontal gaze nystagmus test was not necessarily admissible. Something changed, though.
Yes, that is correct. Prior to 2021, there was a bill that was passed allowing officers to testify about the results of that test. Prior to that, they could not get into what the results were of the horizontal gaze nystagmus. So that has been very helpful now that we can get into that.
And we had a caller, Rich, called in, didn't want to go on the air, but he says, do I have to take those tests? I can't even pass those tests when I'm sober. Those are some tough tests.
Yeah.
What happens if I don't take the test, if I just say I'm not doing that?
So that's a difficult question to answer. And I would try to say that it's for your best interest. And the reason why I say that is because, again, we're not looking for whether or not you are passing or failing, right? The whole point is to determine if you're able to operate a vehicle safely. And so, once again, if you don't exhibit those clues that we're looking for, I say it again, we don't make cases, we make good cases. And so there are people that we allow to go home, just even if they have been drinking alcohol, right? Again, it's to the point where you're unable to operate the vehicle safely.
Gotcha.
And there are penalties. So let's say I'm pulled over, I decide, you know what, I'm not doing anything. I'm not taking any tests, I'm not blowing or whatever. My first question is, what's the civil penalty for my driver's license? And what's the consequences if I don't take those?
Okay, so initially, if you choose not to blow in the what's called the DMT or the the intoximeter now, then we have the right to suspend your driver's license. That is implied consent. That's not Huntsville City. That is implied consent for the state of Alabama. Once you sign that driver's license, you are implied consenting to a breath sample. Your initial is 90 days, right? And if you have a suspended driver's license already, then it could be extended.
And what's the process? So let's say I don't take the test, but I've heard of, okay, they're taking somebody to the hospital, taking me to the hospital to have blood drawn. Is that, do you have to have a warrant, a judge sign that, or how does that process work?
Typically, you would have a warrant, of course, for blood draw. There are instances, though, where a person can consent to having their blood drawn, and a lot of times we have that. Of course, if they consent, then we don't have to have that warrant, and then the results, they're sent off to Department of Forensic Science, DFS, and then we get those results, and of course, they're helpful for us in prosecuting those cases.
And on the fly, there's anything anybody can do to not have their blood taken if they don't want it? But I guess you got to have that warrant.
Right.
Okay.
Well, they certainly could refuse. Of course, they're not, as Sergeant Shorter was kind of alluding to, the purpose of the tests and the evidence that we're gathering is to ensure that a person can safely operate their motor vehicle. Officers don't go on scene and with the mindset that I'm here to arrest somebody.
Right.
The idea is that I want you to do these tests to eliminate, the decision to have to make that arrest. So certainly they can refuse or decline to do it, but again, if there is sufficient evidence that the officer believes he's observed, that might be enough still to go ahead with that.
And that's one aspect from a defense attorney's mindset of how can we defend this case. But I was impressed. I've heard you guys speak on other occasions about the city of Huntsville, and really your goal, your vision is to get everybody home safe. So similar to on the civil side, we see it when it's already done, and hopefully with more and more attention on it, there's less, drivers out there that are under influence. So I was particularly impressed with all of the tools you have to detect not only alcohol, but other substances as well, and A through 1 through 5. Mm-hmm. And so there's different substances, things like that. So in our cases, it adds for punitive damages or wanton conduct where you're operating the vehicle and you should do it, and you enter that conduct, already. And then on the domestic side. Yeah. So you've got somebody they're in a domestic case, a lot of DUIs. How does that affect in your world, Sharon?
So with divorce cases, certainly with child custody cases, if somebody is out there getting DUIs, the other parent is going to bring it up because that's not somebody that needs to have children in their care necessarily. And those DUI convictions, that's an easy fruit to pick and say, not only do they do it, they've been caught doing it. And I think a lot of judges assume that if they've been caught doing it and prosecuted for doing it one time, they've probably done it numerous times. So yes, it affects domestic relations cases a lot. We were talking about prescription medications. Okay, so alcohol is not the only thing you can be under the influence of, right?
Correct. Charging instrument 325A191 has 5 subsections. First is the .08. Second is the alcohol to the point where you're unable to operate the vehicle safely. Third is the controlled substance. 4 is combined substance of alcohol and controlled substance.
Gotcha.
And 5 is any substance that impairs your ability to operate the vehicle safely.
Even if you've got a prescription?
Absolutely.
If you shouldn't be
Benadryl.
driving. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Ambien.
Yeah.
We see that, right.
Take a break. Going to take a break. Be right back answering more of your questions. Stay with us.
That's
Our thanks very much to Whitney Oboko Cole. She is a prosecutor with the Municipal Court, City of Huntsville. Check out www.huntsvilleal.gov. Our thanks to Sergeant Antonio Shorter with the Huntsville Police Department DUI Task Force, Drug Recognition Expert Instructor, and Traffic Homicide Investigator, also huntsvilleal.gov. And Will League is with Timberlake & League in Huntsville. They are personal injury attorneys, so everything from auto accidents to medical mistakes. 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. Check out law-injury.com.
And we got Sharon Dovitt, family law attorney, 539-7337, SharonFamilyLaw.com. Thank you so much, y'all, for coming up. Thank you so much.
Thanks to our guests.
Thank you so much for having us.
Everybody be safe on the roads.